What's up, everybody? Last Saturday, I played in a local iteration of the PDC Draft Store Championships, hosted by my local game store called the Game Closet. There were a total of 10 people participating in the draft, and we were all competing for a really nice play mat designed by the PDC folks, as well as a free entry into the PDC Draft State Championships, which I would assume are happening later this year sometime. For those of you who are new to the format of Rainbow Draft, a Rainbow Draft is the draft form of Dice Masters, and it works like this. Each participant buys 12 booster packs of a specific set of Dice Masters, separates the 12 packs into two groups of 6, and then opens the first 6 packs. After opening the first 6 packs, all of the dice are gathered to the center of the table and arranged by character into columns. This allows everyone to see how many iterations of each character are in a stack of cards, or in all of the stacks of cards, and is also why it's called a Rainbow Draft, because all the dice lined up form a pretty rainbow. Once all of that is done, everyone looks at their stack of 6 packs worth of cards, selects one to keep, and passes their stack to the person on their left. Everyone then looks at the next stack of cards, selects one, and passes again. This continues until all cards have been selected, blah, 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 and you run out of cards. It's a draft, right? After the first draft phase is done, everyone opens the second set of 6 packs and goes through the whole process again, and after all the drafting is done, everyone takes the dice that correspond to the cards that they picked and use those cards to build an 8-card team to play a tournament with. Now, on Saturday, we made a modification to the draft that we often make in our local community, which we like to call an accelerated draft. Rather than drafting both the first and second set of 6 packs, we opened and kept the first set of 6 packs rather than drafting them. The cards and dice are ours to keep, to use, and build our team with, and the second set of 6 packs are what we draft from. This modification speeds up the whole process, allowing for shorter tournaments and making the draft a little bit easier on those that are new to the game. And this is personally great for my scene because we have a lot of players within the community that have young kids, and so not all of us can make it out for 5 hours or 4 hours at a time because we have to put kids down for naps or take them to soccer practice, that sort of thing. Now, it does remove some of the customizability and strategy of the draft, and it lowers the skill cap of a draft itself, but depending on your scene, the benefits can outweigh the detriment. So with that explanation out of the way, let's take a look at my first 6 packs. These are ones I'm keeping. We've got a Goblin with Swarm. We've got a rare Elf Thief, the 4-cost. We have a Balor, that's a 7-cost, really great card, Fiend. We've got a half-elf Bard. Have a Gelatinous Cube, a Dwarf Wizard, unfortunately not the really nice rare Dwarf Wizard. We've got a Clay Golem. We've got a Storm Giant. We have another Balor. This one's a rare as well, so 2 Fiends, and an Orcus. Wow, that discounts Fiends. Gelatinous Cube and Lich. So looking at that set of cards, I'm already starting to lean towards the Fiend deck that is so strong within the D&D 2 set itself. So here's the first round of drafting. These are cards that I open in my second set of 6 packs. A couple of options here already right off the bat. This is one of my favorite cards. I love Beholder. The stat line of that Beholder in this second set is amazing. We've got Oni here. Oni, a 4-cost, uncommon variant of it. We've got Bahamut. There's another Balor, and that might be a pick. That would give me 3 Balor dice right off the bat. And it would actually give me one of each rarity because I got the uncommon, or the common and the rare in my first 6 packs. Got a Potion, Lesser Spell, Black Dragon, Rust Monster, another Balor, so there's a ton in there, and a second Beholder. That's actually really depressing to see because there's not a lot of Beholder dice out on the Rainbow Draft pool. So my picks here are either between Balor or Goblin, and I end up taking that Balor. Having a guaranteed 3rd die for Balor is a great, great pickup, and is the reason why I went for it first off the bat. I'm guaranteed to have 3. I don't have to draft it if it gets popped up in my hand. If 2 of them pop up at once, I don't actually have to worry about it. This is a great one too, as it's the uncommon. I feel like this one's probably the best. So looking in draft round 2, we've got a rare Gorgon. We've got a rare Lizard Folk. So 2 rares right off the bat. I've got an uncommon Black Dragon, another Balor that I don't have to worry about taking. I can actually just take one of those other cards. If I wanted, I could take my 4th die for it. Another Oni. We have some Adventurers here. There's a Gnome Ranger. We've got a Drizzt. The Drizzt is actually really great if I feel like I'm going up against a lot of monsters. Blink Dog here is a good 2-drop. Got last rounding that out was a Bronze Dragon. So my picks here are between Balor and Gorgon. I like Gorgon because it's basically got Magic's version of Death Touch, but Dice Master is deadly without the keyword itself, and it's got a nice little stat line. 3/3, 1/4/4, 1/5/5 for 4 is pretty good. So he could act as a good tech card. Moving into draft round 3, we've got a rare Black Dragon. So I've seen like a ton of rares already. That is crazy. If I were rare drafting, I'd actually have some decisions to make. Luckily for me, I'm not. I actually just straight up want to win the draft. That's not necessarily a 7-cost uncommon Lich with a super long text ability there on the card. He's got the Energy Drain ability, which is a cool ability with engagement and all that. We've got the uncommon Drizzed that spawns his Panther. We've got a Lolth, we've got a Dwarf Wizard. I'm scanning through because I'm looking for a Fiend, and this is a great Fiend pickup. That is a Hellhound. It's a 3-cost that you can purchase turn 1 and picks up it reduces the cost of all your Fiends. We've got a White Dragon, a Ghost, and a Dwarf Wizard, but all of those pale in comparison. Taking one last look to see if any of these things compare. Really, that Hellhound is the best pick, especially because of all the things that I have set up. So Hellhound's going to be a great addition. It's definitely going to be my first or my second buy every round, every game. Moving into draft round 4, we start off with a Wraith, and then we move on to Iron Golem. Iron Golem's actually not a bad pick here, as the Fabricate ability on it makes it relatively cheap. Especially with Fiends. We've got a really strong Cockatrice that allows you to KO anything of 4 cost or below. Another Wraith, another Dwarf Wizard. Unfortunately for me, it's not the rare Dwarf Wizard. So looking at these 3 cards, the Human Fighter's a great card as well. It's got a decent stat line for an Adventurer with a 1/3/3 side. I end up taking Cockatrice because it's got too much utility compared to the others. So much better. Just being able to field it and KO something is really, really strong. Moving into draft round 5, I'm scanning super fast because I'm looking for those Fiends. I already found one. I found Glabrizu. But Hill Giant is also a great card, giving yourself Overcrush. This is unfortunately the 4-drop, so it's not as good as its 3-cost variant that has Overcrush as well. I also like Ring here because of the global ability being able to basically just energy fix as long as you have something in your reserve pool. Or excuse me, as long as you have a sidekick in your used pile, you can just flip-flop one from your reserve to your used pile. Too strong, though, is that Glabrizu, so I'm going to end up taking that and hopefully find another one later down the road. So this has a Gate ability, which some of the Fiends have, which allow me, when fielded, to roll one that I haven't purchased. If it comes up a character phase, I get to keep it and put it in my prep area. Very, very scary, a strong ability, and why Fiends are so good in draft. And I think can be very good in Modern as well. Looking through this stack of cards, this is the 6th round. Flush Golem is not a bad choice. Rust Monster is a terrible stat line. This potion here is pretty good because it fits the Bolt archetype that I have. Bolt and Fist are the 2 energy types that I'm looking at having. It's not a great card. It's very slow. It's a greater spell, and it gives +3/+3, so it can give some really, really strong stat lines. Maybe I bring along a basic action that allows me to give Overcrush, and that would work, but it's still really slow. It's better than most of the other stuff that I saw, though. Draft round 7 comes along, and the first thing I see is another Gorgon. It's not a bad pickup. An Orcus is a good one, though. It would give me 2 Orcus dice. 2 Orcus dice. A Gorgon would give me 2 Gorgon dice as well. Now the question is, which do I want to be buying? And more likely than not, if I have the energy for it, I'd rather be buying that Orcus. Stat line is great on it for a 6-drop as well. It has the ability to discount other Fiends by 2 if it can get out onto the field, which is pretty sick because you can basically be picking up Balor dice for 4 rather than 6. That's also able to stack with that Hellhound. Into draft round 8 we go. Looking at these cards, none of these really fit anything that I'm looking for. No real jump outs, no standouts. I could pick up a second potion, and looks like that's what I'm going to end up doing. I have a second potion die, so if I want to end up running potion, I can at least buy a couple of those. Not great. If I had another flesh golem, I'd pick that one up in a heartbeat, but one flesh golem die does not do me much good. I can, fabricate it out once. So take that potion. So here's another option. I could pick up a 4th Valor die, and I have the discounts for it, actually. I could get it pretty cheap. So a 4th one's not too bad. The ring global here is really powerful, though. I could end up playing around with that. There are actually, I think, looking at the rainbow draft, there were 7 rings out there floating around. So I end up taking this Valor instead, because I figure someone's probably going to bring that ring, and I can just use their global. Moving on to draft round number 10, and I look through these 3 cards and immediately see a Glabrizu, which is amazing because these were the last 3 cards. We're in the last 3 picks, and being able to see something that actually fits my team right off the bat is so good. So pick that up, and now I have 2 dice for Glabrizu. I've got 4 for Balor, 2 for Orcus. I only have 1 for Hellhound, but that's not terrible. It can be my first pick. And I'm in this weird situation now where basically if I take another Balor die, or pick another Balor card, then I have 5 Balor dice. It's not going to do me any good. So I'm going to end up taking the Rust Monster, even though it's kind of a terrible card. I'm not going to see much in the way of equipment in this set. So take that Rust Monster and get past an Oni for the final draft round. That Oni is still the uncommon version, which is a 4-drop. It's got a decent little attack stat on all of its sides, a 3/3, a 4/4, and a 5/4. It's kind of expensive to field, but it can do some damage, especially if you have the 3-drop version of it. So these are all the cards that I saw. Those are the first 2 rows, or columns, I should say, are the 12 cards that I saw in my opening 6 packs, and the second 2 sets are the cards that I drafted. So looking at all of these, you can actually take these and build a team of your own. What would you come up with looking at everything that you've seen here? Would you make some different picks looking at all those cards? I know I kind of went through it fast, but if you want to put your own team together from what you've seen, this is the team that I put together. I ended up with 1 Hellhound, 2 Glabrizus, and I chose the Lesser Fiend. I chose the Greater Fiend on the Balor because it's got a Gate Fiend ability, which is really cool. It allows me to roll a Fiend anytime I field a Balor. I have 2 Orcus dice. I brought a Cockatrice and a Gorgon so that those can sort of act as my tech cards. I can KO something that's small, and I can use Gorgon to just get another character out there that allows me to block really easily, or attack into something that it deals damage to and KOs it. I have 2 Clay Golems because I got one. I actually think I got both of them in those first 12 cards. Maybe I got one, I'm not sure, but I have 2 of them, and I can use Fabricate at any point if I need to. I chose the uncommon variant. I think I had the choice between the uncommon and the common. I chose the uncommon because it protects my other character dice. And then finally I brought the potion. I'm not super happy with this potion choice, but there didn't really feel like there was anything else that I could have brought. I could have brought a single die of Rust Monster or something low cost. I don't like that my lowest cost is a 3 cost and I only have 1 of them, but everything else around it is so strong that I might be able to get away with it. As for basic actions, I brought Superhero Registration Act because ramp is super important in draft, and if you can get ahead with ramp, then you're going to win the game most of the time. And I also brought Haymaker because I have a couple of different characters that provide me fists, and so I can use the fist global. Plus it's a 4-cost way of getting Overcrush, and that's really strong. Overcrush is in draft, and 4 cost is probably just high enough to where my opponent's not going to immediately buy those up. So that is the team I put together. So why don't you guess in the comments below how you think this team will perform. The format of this tournament was 3 rounds of Swiss and then a top 4 cut, and those games were single elimination. So why don't you guess below anywhere between 0 games won and I guess the best would be 5 games won of how you think this team is going to go, and then we'll take a look at the games themselves. As always, thanks for watching.